Welcome to the video. In this video I want to talk about the new Quanum V2 goggles from HobbyKing. Now those of the eagle-eyed persuasion will notice that actually these aren't the version 2s, these are the V1s, but I want to talk very briefly about these before we get into doing comparisons and setting up. The version 1s were something that I managed to get my hands on via the first shipment, and they very quickly went out of stock. And then HobbyKing really struggled to keep them in stock. The reason is I think these are fantastic goggles for the money. They're far from perfect because, you know, some people have said the bezel around the screen's too big and the fit's not great. But you know what? For the money, they are pretty hard to beat. Now there are two videos already on the channel for the version 1 goggles. We have videos that actually show these things being made. We have videos that show them being connected to an external AV receiver and how you set that all up. We also have videos that actually show things like the head tracker and fitting the head tracker to the goggles so that you can use them with something like a Taranis radio with a pan and tilt gimbal on your model. These for me are used an awful lot. I will use them myself if I am just out and about, or if it's getting humid, because the goggles that I tend to fly with, which were my first ever set, these are Fat Shark Predator V2s. These are fantastic goggles. I really like these. They're getting really old now. The optics aren't fantastic, but the all-in-one design I really quite like. But the way it works when I'm doing demos is I run these goggles from the AV out of these, which means that I can have a ride along and people can actually see what I'm seeing out of these. And on bright sunny days, you know, being able to put your face inside here and actually see what's going on is great. Also found that these goggles and the design of them has been great for people with poorer eyesight. My friend actually has reduced vision in one of his eyes, and that means that he struggles to use the Fat Sharks, but he finds these goggles really simple and easy to use and he can focus on them. So now there is a new kid in town. There are the V2s, and they are physically a lot larger. The screen's a lot bigger, the enclosure's different, the way it attaches to your head is different, and although lots of other people have done videos, these have just arrived in the mail, and I'm going to build them up and we'll have a look at the differences, and I kind of give you my view of what I like about them. I have to say a very big thank you to HobbyKing for sending these goggles for me to try. I'll put a link in the description back to these Quanum V2s so you can have a look at them and see what's going on. I'll also link to the V1s so you can have a look at those too, because the V1s are still available and there are instances where the V1s could be a better choice for people. So what you get in the pack is you get the two clamshells. Here are the two halves that go together. The way it works is that you have a couple of Fresnel lenses. You can choose the ones that you want. They mount in the front. You have a screen that mounts at the back. And then once you've got all that stuff in place, then you just stick the top to the bottom and you're good to go. The instructions are actually very, very easy to follow. They're a nice clear set of instructions, and with that you get a little doohickey that will switch between a front mounted camera and your FPV feed. I'm not going to use this just because my front mounted camera would always be looking at my feet. That tends to be the way I fly FPV. There's a little bit of foam here that can go around the openings for your face just to make the fit more comfortable. I've never found these things useful. I didn't put them on the V1. They just tend for me to soak up perspiration and get a little bit unsanitary after a while. I like the fit of the V1s without, but we'll see how that works. They also include power cables now, which is a cute idea. So not only do they have the power cable to power the actual goggles and the screen itself, but there's also adapters on here. So if you wanted to, you could absolutely power an AV receiver and pop that into one of the pockets that go around the outside of the goggles. We have the mounts for the actual lenses themselves. Again, we'll talk about this in a second, but this is a huge improvement over the version 1. And then finally, we have this huge neoprene style sock that everything goes into that goes over your head. Now this is quite a weighty thing, so the V2s are a bit heavier, and again we'll look at that at the end of the video. So let me pause it here, let me go and actually put this together, and we'll come back and have a look, and I'll talk about what I like about them and what I think they've really done well compared to the V1s. So here they are all put together. So as you can see, they went together really easy, very similar to the version 1s. Screen at the back, the Fresnel lens pops into the case, and then you just snap the case on top. I've actually connected mine with double-sided tape just because I prefer that to glue. It lets me get back in if I really need to. Let's talk about a couple of things that I've kind of noticed in building them. A little bit of hot glue there. And what I've kind of found fitting them to my face. First of all, let's talk about the screen at the back. The screen is an awful lot larger in these, and we'll look at a screen comparison in a minute in the video. But the screen in this is 5 inches as opposed to the 4.3 inch unit that's in the original V1s, but the resolution is much higher. It was only about 480 pixels wide in the original V1s, and that to me still gave a really nice picture. The resolution of the screen in this is actually 800 by 480, so the vertical resolution is now the same as the horizontal resolution was in the previous version. That shows you how much real estate and space we have. The actual lens itself, obviously much larger too, and it's also got far more finished looking sliders at the side. These sliders also detach if you want to take the lens holder out if you want to replace them. My tip would be test, fit and build the glasses first. Don't seal anything up. Try each of the lenses in turn. I found they were a little bit closer in terms of their performance to the lenses that came with the original V1. The original V1 went from normal to crazy, and it was very easy to figure out which of the lenses was the best one for me. I had to go through each of the lenses 2 or 3 times until I find the one that worked. Now, interestingly, I don't wear glasses, but for me, only one of the lenses would give me a comfortable viewing experience right up at the very end of the travel. So my lens has to be here in order to view it. So a word of warning for those of you that do need correction, you might need to wear your glasses. The cool thing about this is, because it's a little bit wider, is you can actually wear glasses with it. So if you already have reading spectacles or those kind of things, you can actually still pop those on your face and then pop this over the top, which will make it easier to see. I'm not quite bad enough to need reading specs yet, but for me, only one of the lenses would work and give me what I needed. Fits nice too. Some people have commented about these cheek guard things here. Now, for those of you that have fantastic cheekbones, you might need to just cut these off with a trusty knife. I actually had to use my X-Acto to whittle out the middle of the nose guard. The nose guard itself is much more sculpted than in the V1s, but because of that it was kind of catching the bridge of my nose. So the shape of my face actually fits these really well with these guards in place. This rests against my forehead, and with a little bit taken out of the nose, then it fits perfectly across the bridge of my face as well. I would say, you know, this, because it is foam, does allow you to fit it to your face and take your time and just whittle away, take little bits, just try and fit it again. And when you've got it quite comfy, these ones I actually will be tempted to pop on and fit the strips. Now these strips here that are like a neoprene material, again, don't have any glue on, so I may just use a glue that I can take off to put a little piece on here and maybe a couple of little bits on the cheek guards, just to provide a little bit of more support for my face. One of the things I will comment on just before we go any further is the testing I've done. The screen looks fantastic, but let me just show you the difference in weight between the two. I'm already spotting, if I just zero my scales, actually these aren't mine, these are from the kitchen, these ones without the sock are weighing 189 grams. If I put the sock on top, we're up at 370 grams. If I compare that with the version 1s, which includes the thing that you hold it to your face with, because it's just a simple strap, you'll see that there's a massive difference in weight. I now understand why they have got the sock to hold these onto your face. Because of the larger screen, which is where all the weight is, let's be honest, it does need that extra bit of support. I was considering modifying these so that I could hold them on with a single strap around the head. I could probably do that, but the challenge with that's going to be is the single strap around the head is going to have to be so tight to support the weight, it'll be really uncomfortable. So I can absolutely see why we need the sock. So the sock itself is pretty easy to pop on. you just run the cables through, and the whole thing just pushes into the unit. You can see here that it provides access to all of the things you're going to be interested in. It has spaces for a receiver, for your battery pack, and all the other elements as well. Interestingly, one of the things I've been doing while I've been playing with it is some of the cables that come in the kit, particularly for the power. Although the power is definitely long enough, if I just plug that into the front screen, to kind of get to the battery compartment. It could be either side really, you don't really have to put it anywhere particular, but this side would make sense. It fits beautifully here. The cable that they then supply to provide power to the receiver isn't long enough. I'm tempted to actually put everything over this side here, put my battery in this side and my receiver here. That's going to put all the weight on one side, but it means that I'm not going to have to chop up this adapter cable too much. There is a space on the top for the head tracker. So the head tracker we had a look at before. This is the HobbyKing one, and that fits beautifully in that spot. Also provides access to the centering button too, so you can tell they've thought about this. I'm going to have a go with a couple of flights and we'll come back and see what it feels like. It is adjustable, but it does make it look like World War II gas mask or something, and it's physically an awful lot larger now than our little V1. I'm going to go out and have a go and have a couple of FPV flights, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about my impressions with them actually in use. So here are the goggles after a couple of FPV flights, and one of the things I need to point out is this distortion that you can see when you look into the glasses. The reason that I'm getting this is because I've actually put the Fresnel lens in back to front. If you have it back to front, then what you get is this smearing effect in the corners. If I show you what it looks like if you flip the Fresnel lens around, here's the glasses as they are now with the Fresnel lens the right way round. The right way round is talked about in the manual, and you need to have the flat side towards you. And as you can see, it gives a much nicer viewing experience. If you have that distortion, it kind of makes it a bit difficult to see because you're always looking around. Whereas here you can see with the exact same Fresnel lens just flipped over, it works beautifully. The thing I do need to talk about here is that the difference between this image looking through this Fresnel lens and a normal set of Quanum V1s is the difference between a standard cinema screen and watching something on IMAX. The fit is fine. I found the headsock is actually brilliant. Once you get it fitted well and you've kind of done your little nooks and things out of the foam itself so it fits onto your face, they work beautifully well. The Fresnel lens seems a higher quality. Again, I love the idea that you can actually swap the lenses around so you can change what you're actually looking at and how these things are working. But you can see the image is absolutely beautiful. So, would I recommend them? Well, I would, absolutely. But what I'd say is that if you're looking for a set of goggles that you can use to replace something like a Fat Shark, or if you're brand new to FPV and you want a set of goggles where you can hang all the equipment off and get them to do exactly what you want them to, then you know what? These are actually a great choice, because not only will they give you the ability to get a nice set of goggles really cheaply, but you can also hang off your receiver, your battery, your head tracker and everything else on this. So if these are going to be primary FPV goggles, these make a great choice. If, however, you are looking for little goggles that you want to use as ride-alongs to plug into either something like this into the spare audio or video out of your receiver, or you want to use them with something like a pair of traditional FPV goggles and use them to show people what you're seeing, the version 1s are still a great choice for that. All right, they're not as sophisticated as these, the resolution isn't as good, but I still think these are fantastic for value for money as well. So finally, a thank you again to HobbyKing for sending these for me to try. I'm a fan of the Quanum V1s, and I wasn't sure whether the changes to the V2 would be enough for me to invest in this second updated set. Now I've seen them and got them in my hands, I would say if you are a V1 owner and you've been thinking about it, give it a go. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. There are lots of other videos on the channel and they're carefully ordered into playlists, so you may find that there are other videos on this same subject that you can go and watch. So I would recommend going into the playlist area of Painless 360 YouTube channel and looking around and seeing what there is. You never know what you might find. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and happy flying.